Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Need to get vaccinated, and it's the private, hold on, it is the private sector that wants to make sure that people coming into their venues are vaccinated so that their patrons can be safe from COVID-19. It is time for conservatives in this country to acknowledge we have a crisis and start joining the fight to end it and stop spreading lies about what's going on in this country. It is devastating this country, and blood is on the hand of the former guy and others who support him.
You're not going to call Tucker Carlson a conspiracy theorist.
Others who support him.
You're not going to call Tucker Carlson a conspiracy theorist. That is wrong.
He is.
That is wrong. This is what the Democrats do. They keep calling us names. We're not going to put up with this. I stand for freedom.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
I stand for the freedom of the American people every single day.
You're a grifter. This is ridiculous.
Let's not do name-calling, guys, okay?
No, I was talking to you. No, not her.
Hey, let's keep it civil.
But I'm not going to allow Chris, he does this all the time, to call Tucker Carlson a liar.
Yeah, we don't do name-calling.
Okay, we have every right to make this decision.
They are damaging the effort to get this under control.
It's in the grapes. Well, you can't reach the grapes, so he says the grapes are no good.
Look, people do come to every debate with preconceptions, and you're right about that, of course. But the essence of science is extreme skepticism. We always ought to be asking ourselves, is my hypothesis true?
I'm a member of both skeptic organizations, Mr. Carlson, and this is climate change denial is denial. The evidence is overwhelming. Don't get me wrong, I love you as a person more than life itself, but the evidence for climate change is overwhelming. So we are looking for an explanation of why you guys are having so much trouble with it.
So then, before the name-calling begins, and before you try to end the conversation, let's start it. First question. To what degree human activity is causing that? Is that
it's not an open question, it's a settled question. Human activity is causing climate change.
To what degree?
To a degree that it's a very serious problem in the next few decades.
Wait, stop. Wait, no, you said it's a settled point, and I'm asking a very precise question.
It's a settled point.
Okay, then if you'll elucidate for me, I'd be grateful. To what degree is climate change caused by human activities? 100% of climate change is caused by human activity? Is it 70? For what degree?
So the word degree is the word that you chose, but the speed that climate change is happening is caused by humans. Instead of happening on timescales of millions of years, or let's say 15,000 years, it's happening on a timescale of decades and now years. Now, I offered
wait, hold on. But to what extent is human activity responsible for speeding that up? Believe it or not, to the state of Texas. And we're here with the report. How's it working out so far? Well, the good news is, all that alternative energy seems to have had a remarkable effect on the climate, as intended. Last night, parts of Texas got to temperatures that we see in Alaska. In fact, they were the same as they were in Alaska. So global warming is no longer a pressing concern in Houston. We've solved that problem. The bad news is they don't have electricity. The windmills froze, so the power grid failed. Millions of Texans woke up to spoil their water because with no electricity, it couldn't be purified. The ironically named Electric Reliability Council of Texas, which oversees the grid, had no solution to any of this. They simply told people to stop using so much power to keep warm. So in Houston, hundreds of shivering Texans headed to the Civic Center like refugees to keep from freezing to death. Some people in Texas almost certainly did freeze to death today. That's what happens when it gets that cold. Later this week, we'll learn just how many as they tried to keep warm with jury-rigged heaters and barbecues and car exhaust. That happens every time. When the power goes out, even advanced societies become primitive and dangerous. People die. We've seen it happen repeatedly in California for years now. Rolling blackouts in a purportedly first world state that is slipping steadily into chaos. But in Texas, who saw that coming? And not just because Texas is mostly Republican. If there's one thing you would think Texas would be able to do, it's keep the lights on. Most electricity comes from natural gas, and Texas produces more of that than any place on the continent. There are huge natural gas deposits all over Texas. Texas is an oil and gas state, famously. Running out of energy in Texas is like starving to death at the grocery store. You can only do it on purpose. And Texas did. Rather than celebrate and benefit from their state's vast natural resources, politicians took the fashionable route and became recklessly reliant on so-called alternative energy, meaning windmills. 15 years ago, there were virtually no wind farms in Texas. Last year, roughly a quarter of all electricity generated in the state came from wind. Local politicians were pleased by this. They bragged about it like there was something virtuous about destroying the landscape and degrading the power grid. Just last week, Governor Greg Abbott proudly accepted something called the Wind Leadership Award, given with gratitude by a company getting rich from green energy. So it was all working great until the day it got cold outside. The windmills failed like the silly fashion accessories they are, and people in Texas died. A lot more of them than died at the Capitol on January 6th, by the way, just for reference. Now, we're telling you all this not to beat up on the state of Texas. It's a great state, actually. But to give you some sense about what's about to happen to you, to every state. We're not speculating on that. Here's the new president.
Next month when these migrant teenagers are forced into classrooms with American students. These are from countries, these are impoverished nations, they don't have any formal education, they speak no English, they have been trafficked and have been traumatized, they've been separated from their families, and now they are going into a savvy metropolitan high school area with no social skills to adapt to that situation. No, I understand, but while they have no formal education, they don't have any English skills at all.
You don't know that, Jesse. In a prior generation,
this is a very impoverished demographic. They come from an agrarian society, and if you ask anybody on the border who's taking care of these children, they don't speak English. English. Those are the reports on the
You're
ground.
just
You know it, and I
demonizing
know it.
immigrants in this generation.
No,
It's
no,
not-
First class Philip asshole.
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
Yo!
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
For the
Fauci's the guy. This virus, according to Bob Redfield at the Centers for Disease Control, came from the Wuhan lab. And basically, we had Fauci not only funding that lab with American taxpayer dollars, he authorized this thing called gain of function research. He allowed the Chinese Communist Party, the People's Liberation Army, to genetically engineer a virus using gain of function. I call it the Fauci virus now. If he wants to be the father of something, he's the father of the virus that's killed over 500,000 Americans.
Well, Peter, we're still trying to get to the bottom of that, and we're definitely going to bring you back when we get more information on it. But you're right. There's a lot of questions out there. Peter, I can't thank you enough for joining me today.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.